Suge Knight, at the end of his TMZ interview, said, "Free Kefee D," despite Kefee D saying that from the white Cadillac, he saw Suge Knight being shot in the head, and that he also saw 2Pac look like he was breakdancing as he was being shot. I'll never understand that. Let's get into some of this straight game.
Life is like playing cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy DELRAY, Richardson, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, Straight Game TV. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button notification. Also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And like I always say, if you want to be one of the first people notified when I drop some of this straight game, please do me a favor and hit what appears to be that little bell notification right below this video. I'm going to get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, the Suge Knight TMZ interview has got the internet on fire right now, for a lot of reasons. I would say the most interesting part to me was the fact that Harvey Levin, who is a lawyer, asked some of the most crazy questions that you could possibly ask Suge Knight, given his situation in his current location and being in prison right now, involving the asking Suge would he testify against Kefee D in the trial involving the murder of 2Pac Shakur. You know, irregardless of what Suge Knight might have wanted to say, he couldn't say yes to that. You know what I mean? Because that is viewed as being a snitch in prison, and Suge right now is serving 27 years. So I thought the line of questioning by Harvey Levin was amateur at best, you know, given the situation from that perspective. And the question that he should have asked was, you know, basically to what Kefee D said from that perspective. When the white Cadillac pulled up alongside you and 2Pac, Kefee D said you and him made eye contact, or he had made eye contact with you, and Kefee D basically has admitted to that. That would have been one of the questions that I would have asked Suge Knight, because that would have then said it confirms that okay, Kefee D was in the car, so on and so forth. Other than what other people have testified to on the internet in various places, right? That they saw, you know, Kefee D in Vegas and he was in the white Cadillac and so on and so forth, right? But the most interesting part about that was at the end of the interview, and before you get to the end of the interview, Suge Knight basically said that he wouldn't wish jail on his worst enemy, right? Now, this is despite the fact that Kefee D had testified on various channels that as they pulled up to the Cadillac when the shooting started, that he watched Suge Knight being shot in the head and that Suge was trying to get out the way, and that he basically thought that 2Pac he appeared to be breakdancing as 2Pac was being shot while he was in the BMW, among other things. But those two things in particular, when Suge Knight made the statement that he wouldn't wish jail on his worst enemy, right? I don't think that it's whether Suge Knight wishes jail on somebody or not. I don't think that's even a relevant perspective, if you will, based on the fact that Kefee D, by his own admission, and through what I would consider a self-fulfilling prophecy, by appearing on all of these YouTube channels, writing a book, and so on and so forth, I don't even think that it really matters whether Suge Knight thinks that or would wish jail on Kefee D or not. Kefee D evidently didn't care because he did all those interviews. So that part right there, I don't really give any kind of credence to, if you will, from that perspective. But I just found it interesting that, after that, Suge Knight, at the end of the interview, after Harvey Levin asked all of the questions, at the end of the interview, Suge Knight said, "Free Kefee D." Now, I understand, Suge Knight has a right to feel the way he feels. Suge Knight has a right to forgive Kefee D because that's his right. You know what I mean? Nobody can get it in the way of that. And I respect that. If that's what he feel like, but Kefee D, by his own admission, was part of a homicide, right? From what the government is saying right now, and in the state police, a co-conspirator in the death of 2Pac Shakur, right? And this is what they're charging him with special circumstances, using a handgun with gang enhancements, right? So, with that being said, for Suge Knight to say "Free Kefee D," I'll never understand that, but because it's not like, how people wear those shirts, free whoever, their homie, their friend, their whoever that might be in prison or whatever. I mean, it sounded to me that Kefee D didn't want to be free. So I can't advocate or something that, the person didn't want for themselves. Here it is, Kefee D was given a proffer agreement, right? And it wasn't immunity, but it was sort of immunity, as long as he would have kept his mouth shut. Now, when he began to talk, he began to speak outside of that proffer agreement, right? And then incriminating himself. So when Suge Knight said "Free Kefee D," it makes me think that, does Suge really understand what he's saying when he said that? Or is he saying it just to say it? From that perspective, because evidently by all of the conversation and things that Kefee D did, Kefee D didn't want to be free. So, Suge saying that, it really baffled me, and it baffled a lot of people on the internet, from what I understand. And another thing, Suge had talked about, we know there were 4 people in the car, but the 2 people in the back seat was DeAndre Smith and Orlando Anderson, right? And Suge basically told Harvey Levin that, well, Orlando Anderson wasn't the shooter. And you also have somebody who secretly testified to the grand jury that Orlando Anderson wasn't the shooter, and it was DeAndre Smith. Now, by Suge Knight testifying, or I wouldn't say testifying, but Suge Knight answering Harvey Levin's questions, and Harvey Levin is a lawyer, so Harvey Levin was asking Suge Knight the questions like a lawyer would ask a witness on the stand, right? And Suge Knight basically said that Orlando Anderson wasn't the shooter. There were 2 people in the back seat from Yafafulu, and a few other people who were there on scene basically said the shots came from, the back seat. So if Suge Knight, who was in the driver's seat of the BMW, said that Orlando Anderson wasn't the shooter, then that would only leave DeAndre Smith. So this person who's testifying who secretly testified in front of the grand jury, story would seem to match up with Suge Knight, even though Suge didn't say a name, but we are aware by all accounts that the shots came from the back seat, right? The thing that I really, that kind of makes you think about, well, when Suge had Orlando Anderson come and testify on his behalf, that Suge wasn't one of the instigators or one of the people inflicting violence on him when he was jumped, right? The thing that really I didn't understand about that was, it is clear on the videotape, right, which they showed just recently as they arrested Kefee D. They showed everybody who was involved, and you could clearly see that Suge Knight had kicked Orlando Anderson, right? And so when Suge Knight said what he said in regards to Orlando Anderson coming to testify on his behalf and so on and so forth, like I said, I can understand how Suge feels. But the reality of it is the fact that Kefee D said that they paid Orlando $60,000 or something like that to come and testify on Suge's behalf, saying that Suge didn't do anything. Is how could Suge have somebody come testify that he didn't do something that was actually on camera? Right? And so when you go in front of a judge in the court and you're asking the judge to be lenient, you know, but you're saying that you didn't do something, and when they play the tape in court, it's clearly showing that you're doing the very thing that you said you didn't do, and to the person that you're doing it to come to court and say that you didn't do it to him either, when the videotape clearly said that you clearly shows that you did. I'll never understand. It's just certain things, certain stuff that I'll never understand, and I get it. You know, everybody has their own perspective. You know, there's your side, my side, then there's the truth, and then there's video proof, you know? And so from that perspective, like I said, I'll never understand some things, but I guess that's what made it interesting, that Suge would have Orlando come and testify that Suge didn't do something that was clearly on video. And we all understand and know what happened in that case. The judge basically said that he didn't believe Orlando Anderson, and he believed what he saw on the video, and Suge was violated from his probation and sent back to prison on that, right? So I didn't really expect, you know, anything once I started listening to the interview. I didn't really expect Suge to, you know, say he would testify. You know, that's against the you know, who Suge has been up until this point, if you will. And like I said, the other stuff, I can understand, you know, how he felt about Orlando coming to testify on his behalf. But I just never understood the fact that, well, if Orlando was in the car, he was the one that was, I mean, how, I didn't even understand how Orlando could come and do that. You know what I mean? I just didn't understand that after what had happened. I don't know, but like I said, people can forgive who they want to forgive. I just didn't understand that. I didn't understand. I guess I probably never will. You know, because 2Pac lost his life, and Suge said that he loved 2Pac like a little brother, and so on and so forth. You know, for me, I would have just went on and ate that violation, you know, for whatever it was, and been like, okay, cool, yeah, you know, because of the situation that happened. Yeah, I violated, Your Honor. You know what I mean? And this is the reason why I violated, and so on and so forth. But, you know, after the fact, I don't think if Tupac hadn't lost his life, that it probably would have been all of that from that perspective, because it wouldn't have been, it was been, you know, shooting, it would have been big. But, you know, that's me speculating. I wouldn't want to do that, but it could have been, like I said, and even Tupac could have gotten violated if he would have lived, you know what I mean, and wouldn't have been seriously hurt or anything like that from that perspective. But he was, but like I said, you know, when you look at it from that perspective, like, because he was on bail, you know what I mean, and the bail that he was on was a cash bail, and that's why they had Tupac sign a power of attorney agreement when they got him out on bail, just in case he got in trouble and they needed to execute certain paperwork in order to do what they needed to do to get their money from that situation. See, everything, it ties in now when you understand, you know, some of the videos that I've done, right? But yeah, overall, like I said, chime in, guys. Tell me what you think. I don't know. Like I said, once again, I just look at it from a realistic perspective. You know, everybody has their right to do what they want to do and feel how they want to feel. Even Suge, like I said, he can feel how he wants to feel about Kefee D. He can feel how he wants to feel about Orlando Anderson doing what he did for him. You know what I mean? That's his right. You know what I mean? But, you know, like I said, some stuff I may not understand, you know, given the optics of things and Tupac losing his life and Suge himself being shot and all of that. So, and like I said, and him actually going against basically Suge when being asked questions about Harvey Levin, him going against everything that Kefee D has set up until this part, and up until this point, and then saying that at the end of the interview, free Kefee D. Chime in, guys. Tell me what you guys think. Your boy DELRAY, straight gang.